We look at it and do not see it. It is invisible. We listen to it and do not hear it. It is inaudible. We touch it and do not feel it. It is intangible. These three elude our inquiries and hence merge into one. Not by its rising, it is bright, nor by its sinking, it is dark. Infinite and eternal, it cannot be defined. It returns to nothingness. This is the form of the formless, being and non-being. It is nebulous and elusive. Meet it and you do not see its beginning. Follow it and you do not see its end. Stay with the ancient way in order to master what is present. Knowing the primeval beginning is the essence of the way. So this is another chapter describing the nature of the Tao. Invisible, inaudible, intangible, infinite and eternal, undefinable. Try as we might to pin it down with words, it constantly eludes our understanding. It is without beginning, it is without ending. This chapter is a good example of something that I think is becoming lost in our current society, the state of primal wonder. Primal wonder is the state which a human enters when they are overcome with awe at the greatness, vastness, and beauty of things beyond themselves. We sometimes get a glimpse of this primal wonder when we travel to wonders in nature, such as the Grand Canyon, or when we marvel at the vastness of the stars in the night sky. This state could also be called reverence. Lao Tzu seems to be overcome with this reverence and wonder as he describes the Tao. He marvels at its greatness, its simplicity, its unfathomability. You see this all throughout the Tao Te Ching. Primal wonder is a very important state to experience. In history, humanity has always been surrounded by things that invoke this primal wonder. For most of human existence, people have lived within nature. They've explored the countless beauties of this earth. Every single night, they were presented with a sky full of stars to capture their attention, and to serve as a reminder of how big the universe really is, and how small they are in comparison. Many different cultures have developed systems for observing and tracking the movements of the stars, which fascinated and intrigued them. They placed great importance on keeping track of the movements of the planets, and the coming and going of seasons on the Earth, which were so integral to their daily lives. Almost all cultures have hitherto held some sort of faith in higher power or powers that govern the universe. This reverence for things larger and more important than the self serves many purposes for humankind. Besides the simple fact of it being a wonderful state to experience, primal awe keeps us in check. It reminds us of how small our problems and accomplishments really are in the context of the whole universe. It helps us to keep a perspective of what our place is, and it helps keep us from taking ourselves too seriously. However, our society is sadly running quite low on primal wonder at the present moment, and it shows in our attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. There may be several reasons for this. I think one obvious one is the fact that humankind is experiencing a separation from nature on a scale that has possibly never occurred in its entire history. Today, around 55% of the world's population is estimated to live in cities or urban areas, and this figure is projected to rise to nearly 70% by 2050. Now, there is nothing inherently evil or wrong about cities, but the worldwide migration toward urban living means that fewer and fewer people have opportunities to have regular experiences with nature. I mean, think about it. In a few short decades, over half the population could grow up without ever seeing the night sky, which is not very visible even in small cities. I consider myself to be very fortunate to have lived both in large cities and in very rural areas, to where I've experienced both. And I'm telling you, if you have never seen the night sky out in the middle of nowhere where there's no lights to obscure it, it is a transcendent experience. Humans have always had ample opportunity to be out in nature alone, but many people will rarely, if ever, get that opportunity in today's day. Even when we do go out in nature, it is often a version of nature that has been roped off, publicized, sterilized, and humanized, full of tourists and day trippers. In addition to the absence of nature in the life of the average person is the absence of some being or force higher than the self. When you read chapter 14, you can almost feel the wonder that the Tao inspires in Lao Tzu. You can feel his reverence for it coming out of the very page. But many people today do not recognize any force higher than the self. I'm not saying this to put Taoists or any other philosophical group above another. To do this would be characteristically un-Taoist. But I do think it's incredibly important for human beings to have encounters with some force higher than the self, in nature, in meditation, or in whatever avenue they may find this. The state of primal wonder is an antidote for the hustle, bustle, and narcissism that plagues today's society. It roots us in reality. It checks our self-centeredness. If you feel like this feeling is lacking in your own life, I recommend actively beginning to seek it out, even in small ways. Getting out in nature is an excellent way to start this. Taking time for meditation and contemplation of topics higher than the self is a great way to continue the process. Hopefully this chapter was helpful to someone, and as always, feel free to shoot me a question in the comments or hop into the Discord to discuss the chapter. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow for chapter 15. Thanks so much for watching. Peace and blessings.